I caught it this time. I caught it this time. I was about to start talking and I held my breath. I caught it. I was about to just start yapping. And then I looked down and was like, wait, I'm still on mute. I got it. You're not going to get me this time. Yeah. Hey, y'all. Not me getting a notification telling me I'm live. I am here. I made it. Well, I was about to say I made it on time, but I didn't. I had to put it back like 10 minutes because I got a little caught up making dinner. Had to push it back about 10 minutes. Just giving you a chance to come in. Ain't doing nothing. How is everyone? Hello. How are you? Welcome. I am just not talking about much anything. We were just here yesterday, right? I know you're like, she's showing out. I am. But you know what happened last night? I was scrolling and did y'all watch the thing I put on my community tab? Y'all had pre-homework. You supposed to watch because I'm gonna be referencing it was Blue Centric's video. I have it in the description of this video. Is Blue Centric's video. I was telling y'all to watch it because I'm gonna be referencing it as I'm talking about it, but I didn't want to look it over. Hey, how are you? Welcome in. Thanks for coming. Yeah, I was on just scrolling last night and I've been seeing for a couple weeks now. I think it's been maybe like a solid week at this point where Marc Lamont Hill and Queen's Flip got into it on the Joe Budden podcast, which in general sense, okay, whatever, who cares? But last night, Lovely T's video came up, so we're gonna watch some of that. And she was commenting on Joe Budden, commenting on the Native Land podcast that is Angela Rye, Andrew Gilliam, and I'm so sorry I don't know the other young lady's name. I'm not familiar with her. But they have a podcast called Native Land Podcast. I've checked in once or twice to that podcast. And they were commenting on what happened between Marc Lamont Hill and Queen Flip on the Joe Budden podcast. And so then Joe Budden felt the need to discuss that specifically on the Joe Budden podcast. So I had some thoughts. I had some opinions. And I figured that would be a good live to have. So I'm just giving everybody a few minutes to come in and we can get started. How was your day? How was your week? What's going on with you guys? I just started my second class for the week. It started on Tuesday, and so I was catching up on some stuff because I didn't do any of the work yesterday or Tuesday, but I started today. And at first, I was about to say, "Oh my God, what is all this?" But then I caught my stride. So I was like, "Okay, I can handle it. I can handle it." That's why I only take 2 classes per semester because I get overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed. And I was sitting today thinking to myself, like, it's people out here that really be working full time, going to school full time, parenting full time, doing all that stuff. I'm just like, hats off to them. You know what I mean? It really takes a special kind of person to just be able to go like that. I have to have buffers. I have to have buffers to just sit and just stare off into space. I can't do it. She said I watched it the other day. Okay, yeah, I really like her. I do try to ignore. Yes, me. Okay, so my people are here. We are here. we are. I'm doing the eye to eye thing. We're here with that because we're going to get into it because that was what was really like pissing me off when I was watching Lovely T's video. She said I mostly did cleaning. I was procrastinating about other things. I'm a big procrastinator. You know, big procrastinator. Let me see. It says show on stream. Do I want to show on stream or no? I don't know. It's a who we watch. Hey, Crispy, who we watching and ignoring? Joe Budden. It's Joe Budden. I'm tired of him. Um, that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so we had a few minutes to get in here. Everybody come in about 5 minutes. I think that's good. How y'all doing, people? What is going on? So it is your girl, Vitamin King, and this is Level Up Single Mom. I don't know why I'm even introducing myself. I didn't introduce myself on the last one. I thought about it. I was like, because the people I want to be here are here. And if you here, I want you to be here. And you just friends. So I don't even feel like doing all that. Good. Then you better come up when I open up the panel later. Yes, please do. I think you're gonna like this. I think you're gonna enjoy it. I think you're gonna have a lot of things to say. We're gonna riff because I I don't want to keep saying I'm tired, but I am tired. Like I just keep seeing things and just be like blowing out air, just like, oh my God, here we go again with the bullshit. So yeah. Let's see. So I kind of have a little bit of an order. First, let's get people brushed up with what's going on. I'm gonna do this video because it gives you the backstory to the backstory. So the backstory is that Marc Lamont Hill and another podcaster on Joe Budden, Queen's Flip, got into it. So this is actually the backstory to how the argument started. I was looking for just the regular clips of it all, but I just kept finding commentary about it. So this is the one I like the best, I guess. Hold up, I'm trying to mute.
Mark ain't no sucker. But what he did say about pay is kind of shady. Now, Mark, you was being messy, but that's okay because King. Now, before we get to them squaring up, we gotta actually listen to the king of mess, Joe Budden, and what he had to say, which caused this altercation.
Say it like, if somebody's paid less, I'll take it. What? If you're going to pay somebody
Who
less,
said that? That's not what I said. What I said was,
No.
I need more, and whatever it takes to get us there, I'm willing to accept.
Woo! Now, let me break for you because it went over my head too. So, off camera, a conversation comes up about pay. Now, Flip tells Joe that he was willing to take a pay cut, and that basically helps stabilizes whatever finances are going on. Mark says he needs to be paid more, and he's willing to accept any form of how he gets paid more, i.e., Mark says, I'm willing to get paid more, and if they want to take a pay cut, I'll take it. Basically, I'll take their cut. And because he said it so smooth, because y'all know how Mark is with his words, that's the reason why it went over a lot of people's heads. But that was being messy and kind of a little bit backhanded. And now that you know how the argument starts, let's fast forward to the argument.
You try to win favors. You mean like, you try to win favors. All right, you're a hitter. To me, you try to win favors. The fans, and then on top of that, even if you do win favors, even if you do win favors, you try to point everything else that nobody do. That's sucker shit to me. When do I do that? You try to point. Don't call me a sucker no more. 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 That's sucker shit. I'm not calling you. I'm saying that's sucker shit. I can take that. I'm not calling you. I'm saying that's sucker shit. You're not a sucker. And I'm telling you, you say that sucker shit. I take it like you saying it to me. So I'm saying. What I'm saying. Let's both calm down.
Now, what Flip is trying to say is that Mark doing all this fan engagement is really trying to pin the audience against the rest of the podcast members. And Mark is saying, well, I'm just doing my job. Aren't we supposed to be promoting the podcast? And Mark knows that if he builds engagement and loyalty with the viewers of the J podcast, then he understands that that is more leverage for him to ask for more money in turn, which could mean reducing pay for other cast members who are not doing the full fan engagement and who aren't seen in a better light by the fan. Now, Queen's Flip, or Flip as you guys know him, took to Twitter and he said this. He said, just to clear the air, I was never coming at the fans. The whole mention of fans was just an example and not the main issue. The real conversation about BTS stuff that got lost in the noise, and it all started from something Joe said earlier about pay. He was talking about the pay. Now, Flip followed up and said, I got caught up in the moment, but in retrospect, I don't feel that way. It was all entertainment from my side. I'm here to put on and go home. Team players always. And as much as I love Mark, he was definitely being shady and trying to undercut his co-hosts.
I am crying. and crispy. Yes, dark. Listen, okay. He was not playing with him. But I also forgot I need to go ahead and do the intro. So let me do that really, really, really quickly. So then we can get into the dang thing.
This is a mother.
No problem.
You in charge of the girls, right?
I am in charge of the girls.
Are you in charge of the
I am in charge of the girls.
Child, I was like, where did I go? Okay, so now that we have the backstory of like what actually happened, let me go see what I have back here. Because I'm trying to figure out, do I want to do the commentary first or do I want to? I'm going to do Lovely T's commentary. We're going to jump into Lovely T's commentary. But before we jump into Lovely T's commentary, the reason I wanted y'all to watch Blue Centric's video about it is because I watched Blue Centric's video. I believe it was Friday. I watched it. And I remember because I was like out and about on public transportation and just like sitting and doing nothing. So I watched her video. I really enjoyed her commentary. I'm gonna give you like a brief overview of what she was talking about. So Blue has been in the game pretty much maybe along the same time frame as Marc Lamont Hill has been in and out or whatever. And she's been on different shows and things that you may have seen, you may not have seen, but definitely connected and moving through the industry. So she was on a show. She was on, what's that man's name? He just adopted a baby with Tiffany Haddish. What is it? Jason Lee. She was on a show with Jason Lee. She also did something with She also, it's good to see you too. Thank you for coming. She did a show, a project with Melissa Ford. And it was another live stream she did where she was talking a little bit about that experience and how she really don't bang with Melissa like that or whatever. But the point is, her whole thing was, I think the name of it was Marc Lamont Hill needs to be on Joe Budden Podcast. And I've seen a couple people had expressed the same sentiment. And the reason that she was saying and the reason that other people are saying it basically because if it wasn't for him being there, then their target audience wouldn't be getting exposure to intellect like that. And while like I understand the sentiment, I get what they're saying, yeah, I don't agree. And the reason that I don't agree, which is why when I was watching Lovely T's commentary last night, I was like, yes, I do want to talk about this because Angela Rye expressed it in a way that yes. Angela Rye expressed it in a way that's similar to what I was thinking. And she was saying a lot of the same things that I was thinking that day after watching Blue's video. And I remember a specific thought I had in my mind was about anti-intellectualism in the Black community. And I was saying that what frustrates me about anti-intellectualism in the Black community is a lot of time it comes off like people think that certain people think that they know everything, and that's not what intellectualism is. That's not what scholarship is. Scholarship is about curiosity, and it is about knowing where to find the information you need. Scholarship is about knowing that you don't know everything, but because you know you don't know everything, you make it a habit in your business to know how to go about finding out what you may need to know at a given moment about different things. So it's knowing of a lot of stuff and knowing enough about it to know that you don't know everything and where to get the information. That's what scholarship is. That's what intellectualism is. In my mind anyway. And so then when I was watching Lovely T's commentary we're about to get into right now, that's when I was like, oh yeah, I I'm seeing that it's a broader conversation. So I want to get in on this. This is something that excites me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. She look good. Look,
I know it all started around October 3rd. Things like that. So let's we're at today. So let's go ahead and check it out right now.
Because people will hear that and think I do that.
But I don't know if you do it. But I
You have any reason to think I do that?
I don't know.
Do you have any reason to think I do that? Is what I said.
Because you just said that. You said you cracking a joke with Joe. Like, oh, they can.
But you cracking a joke with what?
No, listen what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen what I'm trying to tell you.
I think the people need to see this show.
Hey, here you got.
And guess what? It's going out.
It's going out.
What we did last week. Just want to care about what people shouldn't see, then shut up.
Then don't say
this
it. Right.
Is going out.
I'm comfortable with everything I'm saying.
Okay. This is going right out.
I love you, Flip.
I love you too.
FedEx too.
But no, I don't backbite. Hey, as a matter of fact, next to it,
UPS, here's the tracking link.
As a matter of fact, you know it, because whatever you've ever told me, you know ain't never come out, and whatever ever happened that I witnessed to, I ain't never said shit about.
Yeah,
like even when that,
we kept your secrets, nigga.
I'm not gonna say it because then that's
we kept your secrets.
That's all I'm gonna say.
What secrets?
I can't nobody up here say nothing different.
What secrets?
We kept your secrets, boy.
What secrets?
We know your secrets.
I'll tell you off air. I'm not even going to allude to it.
That's
I don't need that.
See, this is loyal.
That's not loyal.
Not that shit you do. This lawyer ain't gonna blow you up in front of millions, nigga.
Please, what you talking about?
No, and to be clear for the ones, it ain't personal. It ain't about personal life. I don't want to make it sound like that because I want people to think.
Oh, you talking about anything that I tell you, niggas? Anything that happened, I can talk about.
And it's for you to talk about.
So anything that
I'm saying, I won't.
So if you allow to it, because you say a lot of tricky words.
No, I don't. I say regular words that's tricky to you.
Tricky words, funny as shit.
That's another thing you do, right? Like, my nigga, you the busiest man in the world. You spend 1,000 hours trying to communicate and speak to people to be accepted by people that this community, that this nigga built through the community. I don't need to do that.
Our job.
I believe in myself.
That's
I believe in
I'm stopping it here because I just want you to hone in on what he just said. Queen Flip said in that moment. And to me, that's the part that irritated me about the whole situation when I first saw the clips of them arguing, and that sentiment right there, that insecurity of like, you don't like the fact that this man can go around and express himself in a way that he's accepted and respected in a way that you feel like you aren't. You are intimidated by the fact that this man can go around and articulate himself and present in a way that gets him a lot of respect. Now, do I have issues with Marc Lamont Hill? Is he my, Lord and Savior? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But when it comes to this, the way he's being treated and why he's feeling that way, these feelings are coming at him, that's what I don't bang with, and that's what annoyed me about this, and that's why I don't watch Joe Budden. I never sat and watched Joe Budden's podcast, even back when he had what's his name, Jay and Miro. I don't know their names. That's what I said. Like, that's, I know of it. I know of the people, and I've always only seen this show through clips that go viral. I've never sat and watched the show because I don't like that kind of energy. There's always a nigga that's just intimidated by intelligence and intimidated by someone who is who's vision led. I will say, and I want to be clear. Do I hate Marc Lamont Hill? Absolutely not. I don't hate Marc Lamont Hill, but there are things that I will get into later on in the live stream, like explaining why I still can't quite bang with him. But I respect and believe that he is a community-minded person and he's a vision-led person. And so in that sense, even though I can't necessarily be like, oh yeah, I love Marc Lamont Hill, I still have a lot of respect for him. Why are you laughing? Yeah, Jesus. Oh, I'm so sorry. See, I'm so sorry. And there's no disrespect to nobody. I just don't be watching it. It's just not my flavor. Yeah, Rory and Mal. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know he's been through a few iterations of the lineup or whatever. And I'm going to get into what I think about him and how he run his show and like his whole stilo as well. But I just wanted y'all to peep that.
Our job is to come up here and work and show that put our best foot forward.
And that's what I do.
That's our job. And plus, do other shit behind the scenes.
You mean like promote the show?
To try to win favor. You try to win favors.
You mean like
In what way, though?
You try to win favors.
All right, you're a Hitler.
To me, you try to win favors.
With the fans?
In what
Even
way?
if you do win
They're the
favors,
fans. They're our audience, Flip.
even if you do win favors, you try to point out everything else that nobody do. That's sucker shit to me.
When do I do that?
You try to point out.
Don't call me a sucker no more. Don't call me a sucker no more. Don't call me a sucker no more. Don't call me a sucker no more.
That's
Don't
sucker
call me a
shit.
sucker no more.
That's sucker shit. I'm not calling you. I'm saying that's sucker shit. I can take that. I'm not calling you. I'm saying that's sucker shit. You're not a sucker, but that's
And I'm telling you, you say that sucker shit, I take it like you say that to me. So I'm saying,
what I'm saying,
let's do this. Sucker shit. So I'm saying,
you're not a sucker, but I said the behavior.
then we good.
Shit to me.
Then we good. Then we good. Now let's get back to the show.
But why you saying that?
Because when you say that sucker shit, that I take that as disrespectful. And I take that as to me.
Don't like sucker.
To me. So I'm trying to tell you.
But it's a lot of shit you say to niggas that we take disrespectful, but for the
There's a lot of
sake
shit you say that I take disrespectful. Nigga, I'm not gonna talk about it on here because I'm not you.
I'm afraid.
So at the end of the day, I'm not you. This is what you do. And then I'm
All right. So,
I'm scared.
Hey, man, I'm not potting. I'm not potting.
I know.
Nigga,
But we have to
nigga, don't fucking say it. What the fuck is you doing? What? Nigga, do you want? Are we talking about?
y'all make y'all.
We can pot.
Mark.
Let's talk outside.
Mark and Flip.
No, don't. Fuck that.
Mark and Flip. It's not fuck up.
Every time you get mad, you talk niggas like they pussy and they not. I didn't call you pussy. No, you call me a fucking sucker. That's the thing. Let's talk. Hey, man,
Stop, Mark.
I'm not trying to draw. Let's just talk outside.
We can't talk outside.
They can talk outside.
No, y'all can't talk outside. No, y'all
I'm talking outside.
not outside. You're not in this hallway. Not in this hallway. You're not. Yeah, y'all take that shit up to a project block or somewhere. Yeah. What are y'all talking about?
Let's pod. That's it. This is all fucking dumb shit. If we partner, exactly. Let's pod.
Y'all.
Honey. So it got real. Okay, it got real. And let's not forget,
All right, so I be trying to look. Yes, Boda. Look, I love me some Boda. This the thing. When I first saw the clip that went viral or whatever, yes, the men are many. I just was like, well, that was bound to happen, number one. And number two, he shouldn't even fucking be there. When I first saw him there, I was just like, he shouldn't fucking be there. Honestly, Mona shouldn't be there either. She's too good for that shit too. Like, now, anybody that knows me, anybody been around me anywhere in these spaces knows I don't fuck with Melissa Ford. I do not like Melissa Ford. She's not a girl's girl. I don't really be feeling sorry for her in certain things because she's very male-centered. You know, she's been very nasty to other women in the industry with her. And it gives white mama, black daddy, you know, all the things, right? However, that was another reason why I didn't like to watch Joe Budden Podcast, is because I would be stressed out watching her sit there, and I would be frustrated with her when they would be doing all this stuff to her. They would be doing a bunch of stuff to her, and I'll be sitting there looking at her like, well, that's what you like, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you get down anyway. That's how you be doing other girls. So I guess you would just sit there and accept it. But, like, I just never liked the way that they interacted with her energy. And it very much so gave, you know, typical hip-hop, quote unquote, black community, aka black male centered situation. And like, it's not that I don't feel like black males or males or whatever, like everybody can have their own spaces. But again, these are spaces where you want women to come because you want women's revenue, you want women's dollars, you want women's engagement. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like, let it be what it is. If it's just for males, then let it be for males. But if you're going to have women, like you get what I'm saying. Like, I just didn't like the energy. It felt like not worth my time. She said, really? Oh yeah, she's not in post accident. It's gotten worse. Well, what accident she had? Oh well, I thought she was black. She's mixed. She's mixed. And I believe she's Canadian. I mean, not that that should matter, but I remember her. See, I was in high school in like early 20s and stuff in her heyday. And I remember she used to be when Corinne Steffens and now Elizabeth Overson first came out with her book and stuff. She was very vocal and looking down her nose at her and talking about different types of video vixens, you know, basically sullying the craft. And it's just like, girl, you're TNA. Okay, you're TNA. That's not me trying to down the fact, like, those women, all of those women are icons. All of the women that we remember, from the more highly built ones to the lesser known ones that we just used to see everywhere. All of those women are icons and they are a major part of the culture. But the way she used to try to differentiate and like talk down and just real slick, and I never liked her. I never liked her. Says Joe Budden and podcast are two words that don't sound safe for anyone without a weapon or security. Listen, she said exactly not black. I believe that as it is, but there's definitely a difference betwixt, you know, white mamas and black mamas. And I will say that that's just undeniable. The culture is different. Okay.
Marc Lamont Hill, okay? He's from Philly. And if I got my best friend is from Philly. If y'all know anything, they do not play about the word sucker. That's like calling a dude a bitch. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he took that very, very bad, and DJ Envy and Angela Yee. So we're going to go ahead and watch the Native Land podcast. It's hosted by a woman named Tiffany Cross, Andrew Gilliam, Bakari Sellers, and Angela Rye. We're not going to listen to each individual's commentary, but I'm going to play a little bit of Andrew Gilliam, a little bit of Tiffany, and Angela Rye. I'm going to play probably all of her commentary because that's really who Joe Budden ends up responding to. So I want you guys to kind of have context. We're going to go ahead and check it out right now. And as you guys see, the title is Joe Budden's Podcast and the Dumbing Down of America.
I'm happy that Marc showed both sides, that yes, I'm an intellectual, but don't get up in the studio, you know? And I think it's important for people to see that, yes, you can still be an intellectual and demand your respect. That doesn't make you soft. I'm concerned, though, in our community, because when you look at just plain data, you can take my perspectives out of it. There seems to be an erosion. I don't consider myself a member of the Black intellectual class, but I do thrive in that space. I love to be around. Sometimes, Andrew, when you're talking, I forget I'm a host on the podcast. I'm just listening to you. You're saying something so brilliant to me, or something that I didn't know. I had no perspective, and I enjoy hearing that. I have curiosity. I'm not trying to be fake humble. Like, I don't consider myself an intellectual. I consider myself intellectually curious. I have questions. I see that getting dulled across peers and across the community. Social media, I think, is a big part of that. A study out of UC San Diego found that even low levels of social media use are associated with poor cognitive outcomes, particularly among children. The more, like, just because you have a microphone, I don't always respect your opinion. The guy who's talking, I don't respect his opinion. Andrew, we talked. I'm not married. I don't have children. If I'm giving you advice on either, it's totally fine for you to say, what are you basing this on? Where did you get that information from? And I'm not going to be offended by you asking me that, because even if I might be right, you don't have to respect my opinion. I don't respect everybody's opinion on politics. You might be right on occasion. I don't respect your opinion. So I just think, in this environment of these viral clips, I'm curious y'all take on all of this, because I don't want to make it just about Marc. Yeah. But Marc is there because we'll turn their back on him. Marc should not be on this podcast. He gets the opportunity to talk to people, but Marc should still be at CNN, if you ask my opinion. Marc should have had a contract. As soon as CNN said, you go, somebody should have snatched Marc up and said that. And I just think they put dumb people on TV sometimes just because you have more likes and followers, and they don't celebrate our intellectualism. So I leave it there. We'd love to hear y'all's thoughts.
Just want to chime in. Everything she said, I'm with her. Just wanted to let you know that.
Well, one, I hope we never get to a place of self-censoring. I think it's important for us to bring our full beliefs, our full selves to this podcast, because that's what our listeners, the people who ride with us, expect, is that we'll be as direct as we can. I will be very honest. I've never listened to the Joe Budden podcast before. This was the first clip I've ever seen of it is with Marc on it, and that probably distances me even greater from a lot of folks out there who probably, it's a number 5 or top 5 or top 10 for a reason. That means people are going there to subscribe. The reason why I think I value a voice like Marc's, being able to cut through in a top 10, top 5 audience, is that at least somebody gets an exposure to his perspective that may not have otherwise had it.
I'm just cutting in to say this is what Blue's opinion was, and that's basically what she was saying about why she feels like Mark needs to be there on the podcast, and by extension, I believe she also said Mona. She felt like they need to be there because they're so smart, because they have such a more intelligent. But it's the truth, Kenny. It's the truth. But because they have such a broader perspective and everything, and otherwise those people that gravitate there wouldn't get that perspective. That's why they need to be there. And it's like, while I feel them, at what to what end? To what end? You know, like,
but exactly what they're getting exposed to also matters. I don't know if that's the rhythm of it from day to day or whatever podcast, week to week, whenever. But I've got on
And fast forward to Angela Rye's part here.
Sure that Black folks can read in.
sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm gonna go back a little bit for you.
knowing Mark well enough, that on a regular basis, he's probably being able to enter into that conversation, that discussion, a higher level of discourse than what we saw exhibited there. Maybe he's entering into that conversation.
So now I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to Angela Rye's part here.
Sure that Black folks can read in a neighborhood that he loves in Philly. The same person that's creating Black jobs and providing opportunity for our folks doesn't want to show up that way for himself, for him, for his kids, for anybody. And so what I really want to ask us to consider is, how do we resolve conflict when things are heated without name calling, without attacking someone's intellect or lack thereof? I think that we can lovingly challenge people to rise up without calling them dumb or anti-intellectual. Sure, that is where we are, but is there another way to call people in? I don't think that Mark should be left holding the bag in this exchange. I take great issue with that podcast and its treatment of Mark, and I was wondering when he was gonna snap. You know, there's another clip that I don't know if you all saw, where Mark announces very vulnerably that he's lost almost all of his colleagues that were reporting in Gaza. And by lost, I mean they are killed. They died in their reporting and trying to be courageous for their people.
And then around the world, we're seeing violence everywhere, including Gaza, where I work for Al Jazeera. My colleagues, every colleague I have in Gaza has been murdered. Every single colleague I have in Gaza has been murdered. So we got a lot of work to do, a lot of stuff to pay attention to.
All right, Young Thug just I get scared every time he do that shit.
He doing so fast. You gotta hit
everybody know got it.
Oh my colleague.
God damn, he doing it again. That nigga Mark, boy. Why you don't ever support him when we start talking that shit? You support him very well, sweetheart.
He has my full support, but I also know that once he says something like that, or we discuss something like that, then we're just like, okay, what's the fucking pivot? What's the pivot after we talk about every journalist on the Gaza Strip being murdered? Like, what's the pivot?
So Young Thug appeared on Little Baby's project.
Quite the project.
And sharing vulnerably, he's lost all his people. And Joe Budden's transition, not this other guy, I don't know everybody's name, but not this other guy. Joe Budden's transition is like, and Young Thug. Like, just no mention of like, are you okay?
Yeah.
How do you...
Just want to interject quickly. I saw another clip last year sometime probably, where they were talking about, exactly, Alicia, something happened and somehow Mark started talking about his mental health and like how, oh yeah, because remember that other dude that I don't really bang with had made the video about men's mental health, and he used the clip of Mark talking about how everything was on, the weight was on his shoulders and everything and blah, 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 blah. And they did the same thing to him. You get what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's what I'm saying. Like, even though I don't watch the show, the clips that go viral, there's enough clips to go viral to show that there's a pattern. And if I'm seeing this as a pattern just as somebody outside the club, then I know it's happening a whole lot more inside the club. You know what I mean? Even if it's not as big as these things, but clearly if it's coming to a head like this, it is happening on lower levels where it doesn't, you know what I mean? It builds up over time. And I don't think that it's worth it. I don't see the value in this idea of, oh, well, he's going to get some other people that otherwise wouldn't get got. And again, we'll get into that a little bit later too. Because I believe I have commentary that speaks to exactly what I'm talking about as well.
You feel who was this week? How did they die? Just like nothing. So 2 tips point around curiosity. If you can't find curiosity, find sympathy. If you can't find sympathy, find empathy. If you can't find empathy, find compassion. Because if you don't, the person who is in a constant state of grief, at some point that grief turns to rage because there's not a safe container for it. So we say on this show, welcome home, and we mean that. Of course, Mark is welcome anytime. I don't know about the rest of them. But I will just say, I don't think that means that we should be foreclosed to having discussions that are tough or where we don't think people are our peers or we're on the same level. I'm not into that. But where I see folks who are constantly unwilling to have conversations that stretch or to have conversations where they at least can appreciate a different perspective, I don't know that I'm into that. So I just want Mark to know I'm praying for you, brother. You know that. And I want better for him. I think that he deserves to hold space with people who are at least more compassionate and more eager to learn from his perspective. And clearly, you can take a Negro out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the Negro. So you might not want to keep leaping at Mark. He might just snap and bust your ass next time. I don't know. I don't want him to do that. But I mean, it was getting Real Housewives to me.
Honey, all right. So y'all just heard what, the folks at the Native Land Podcast had to say, including Angela Rye. So now we're going to go ahead and watch what the Joe Budden Podcast had to say in response to all this. So yeah, it is causing a huge debate currently on social media.
What are we talking about?
Sound like I want to talk about Angela Rye.
We're an hour two. We're an hour two, and we already just did what we just did coming off the break. So here we are, right back to it. Angela Rye, I totally accept your non-invite to your platform and would like to add on to it.
But she disinvited you from her?
No. She said everybody up here wouldn't be welcome.
Who wants to go up there?
Oh, man, I can't go somewhere that I didn't want.
Now I want to be, there's a person there that I shouldn't be involved in this conversation, and you'll know why and you'll see why, but that pissed me off. And, then him generally talking, the cadence of his everything. I just wanted to say, you're going to know when you know what I'm specifically talking about in this moment, though.
Want to go?
Well,
I don't even know they exist.
Are we telling the audience what happened?
Okay, good.
Tell him.
Yeah, I thought y'all was going to do it.
I never heard Mark Lamont Hill. So he just made noises.
In the aftermath of my culture talk with Flip last week,
Yahoo?
He's doing it now. He's doing it.
Yeah, he's doing tricky words.
Tricky words.
There was a lot of media that came out, but one of the big pods that I saw responded, and I just heard it this morning on the way in, was the Native Land Podcast, which is a podcast with Andrew Gillum, former mayor of Tallahassee, Angela Rye, formerly of CNN Media Mogul.
Mark, if you're going to do it and give your friends a whole bunch of respect.
Tiffany Cross, and I gave y'all just do it.
All right, yo, check this out.
We usually
no, because he's being too respectful for me.
We gonna turn up. He's supposed to. We gonna turn up.
Yeah, but I don't want to. So big. Say that last.
Anyway, let me finish the thought. I'll just say this.
Gotta jump in real quick. Going to pivot for 1 second because see what Joe just did right there? That is another one of the reasons why it is lowering himself. And I'm talking about Mark right now. To be anybody that goes on that podcast whose name is not Joe Budden, going on that place is lowering themselves. Like I said, I do not fuck with Melissa Ford, but even when she was there, I felt like she was lowering herself, and this is why. And I want to show you another clip. Where is it? It's not that. I think I want to show you the one with Mona. Where is it? Oh, here it go, right here. Mm-hmm.
sleep, draw down, got fucked off, right?
Sure.
The 2 or 3 times that's happened to me, it shocked me. Even with my nigga, like, what the fuck he doing? Just to see him with his pants down, his drawers down to his knees, vulnerable like that with his dick out. I know my kid's 15, my daughter, if she was delivering something at 18, 3 years from now, she wouldn't even go up to that door. She left that shit on the bottom step. She probably would have gotten in trouble because she wouldn't walked it up there because that would have freaked her out. So I don't know what's the point about you confused about why a grown dick is jarring to somebody. You know what I mean? Some girls, I mean, the girl like she like 2021. Everybody ain't fucking at 2021. That shit's scary. And on top of it, again, as a woman, I don't know if that's the reason why people talk about call people pedophiles or rapists or whatever. But me, my time as a woman, people always trying to take one of my pocketbooks, the one with the money in it or the one with the clitoris in it. Like that's my experience as a woman. Period. That's what it feels like. Motherfucker always trying to take something from you.
Okay, that's the end of you. This bitch, boy, she can make a point after point after. God damn.
Double it up, double up, double up.
9 of us on the show.
She go on. It's a runway, nigga. When the play?
I get quiet, they say talk. I want y'all to know at home. When I'm quiet, they say talk. You don't love me. You don't love me. You be irked, and I be saying it, and I don't care. I'm not gonna stop.
No, you hear me? I be trying.
Trying
we talked about
with
it. Look,
this
Mona.
fucking C-mic shit. I'm trying.
Mona, look at me.
I'm used to be by myself.
Yeah, Mona,
Fuck that.
Look at me, Mona.
You niggas used to this David Ruffin shit. I am David Ruffin. I'm working on it. I didn't even know what a fucking A-mic was. I had to learn that. These niggas ain't teach me that.
Well, it's me.
I wanted y'all to see that because he is so disrespectful to people, and mostly it's people that are making points, because you're not going to tell me it's simply because of the fact that she was talking and talking and talking. It was also what she was saying, and he couldn't say nothing to it. Because they will always get Melissa with the, oh, you emotional and you don't know what you like. Moan is different because you see what they said smart to her, she got right back with it. And I'm telling you, that's why I don't be around it, because I would be just like her. You get what I'm saying? It's not that when you say I'm nice and everything like that, because that's how I want to be. I want to talk nice. I want to have fun and this and that and the other. But when I'm around people that get me to the point where I got to cuss at you all the time and put you back in your place and everything like that, that fucks with my nerves. I don't like that shit. Mona's cool with it. You get what I'm saying? And so she'll go up there, get back with him and get back into the space. You get what I'm saying? I don't like to even have to do that. So that's what I'm saying. And he does that to Mark, but also the point is that when he was like, oh, you bring it up, Mark, I felt like that was like a sunning him in a way of like, oh, I want you to drag your friends. I know you cool with them people. I want you to drag them. And then when he didn't drag them, when he did what Mark does, and he was like, oh, well, I'm going to explain it, but I'm also going to be respectful to my colleagues. He straight up said, oh, I don't like that. I wanted you to drag them. That's why he should not be there. That's not a professional environment. That man knows what he's doing. And that's another reason why I wanted y'all to watch Blue's video, because Blue was talking about how when she spent time on Jason Lee's podcast, she was saying that Jason Lee himself told her, I need you here because I know what I'm doing here. And she knows that Joe knows what he's doing there. They know they're doing fuck shit. They know they're serving up bullshit. And so they bring somebody else in for that credibility to be able to say, oh, well, you know, yes, it's just entertainment, but I also have intellect, so it's not just slop. And when we watched that first clip of, you know, the background of Mark saying, well, I need more money, that's because Mark knows what he's doing the fuck there. Mark knows what he's doing there, and he wants to get paid for it. Queens and them is just there because they're fucking there, and they think it's enough to just be on the top podcast or whatever, and that should be enough. But because Mark is bringing a kind of value that they can't even comprehend of, which is intelligence, which is knowing what you're talking about, which is being able to slip into different you know, code switch and whatnot, and be accepted and be respected and go to all these other places and get accepted and revered by these intellectuals. Because Joe Budden's about to go in on Angela Rye and them, and I think he's very disturbed. He's going to act like, oh, he kind of don't know who they are, but he knows exactly who Angela Rye is. You know what I mean? Like, he knows exactly who Angela Rye, and he went mostly in on her. So I just wanted to impart all of that for context as we're moving forward.
put a podcast out responding to what happened between Flip and me, and they are different perspectives on that. I thought they were generally respectful, and I agree with a lot of what was said. Some of it I had a slightly different take on, but they were basically using this as a kind of launching pad to talk about a bigger issue, which they saw was the dumbing down of America. I think the episode was called the Joe Budden Podcast and the dumbing down of America. And they were saying that the distinction between me and Flip is evidence of that. Now, as I said earlier in the show, I don't agree with that part of it.
It's just not in his head, so I think he does.
Yeah.
Well, that's where problem number one arises for me, and then I'll toss it back to Mark. You title it that, and then admittedly say, I don't look at that, because that's not my ministry. See, that's why I appreciate what Andrew had to say, because he said, one, I'm not familiar with this podcast. I don't watch the clips from this podcast. I assume this is not their frequency every week. He did. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. That's why you need niggas with brains around. Thank you. That indeed is not our frequency every week. He went on to say, I also trust Mark and his ability to gauge where he should and shouldn't be, who he should connect with and who he shouldn't, to kind of filter out where he's safe at. So I took offense to the sentiment. I took offense to a few sentiments, but one is that I don't love Mark down. I take offense to that. I don't know how much I want to go into Mark down. Fuck on.
No, it's a bunch of things. I think that the young lady Tiffany. So it's 4 people on the panel, 2 gentlemen, two women. Angela Rye, young lady Tiffany, Bakari, and the old mayor, Andrew Gillen.
Who's your age?
So,
mayor. If we were a little more,
he ran for governor.
Yeah.
Okay. But so who I think is dope too, by the way. So a lot of times in these political spaces, a lot of times in the spaces that are quote unquote intellectual, we often look at demographics and we look and pick and choose when we want to play victim and we want to play aggressive. So when the rich white people are doing certain things to us, we cry wolf. I mean, we don't cry wolf, we cry foul. And then we'll take the same exact thing and now shun other people that are less than we are or that we deem less than we are. So when we're in a political space and we see all these rich white people making all these moves and doing all these shit and saying, fuck the masses, I don't care what they think. And then the young lady got on the platform and basically called Flip dumb and said, I don't give a fuck what he thinks. I don't want to hear from him because he's not, in my opinion, credible, or his opinion is not valid. It's the same thing that the white people that oppress us.
I just want to say that light-skinned one that's talking, or he might be Puerto Rican, I don't know. Him and Queen Flip are interchangeable to me because the clips I see is either one of them two, but they're always giving the same energy. So I just wanted you to know that.
Say their opinion is not, I don't want to give a fuck about the thoughts of sheep when I'm a lion. So I think that that's a hypocrisy in that. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Also, that's what happened with Flip and Mark is contextual. And if you don't watch the pod, which none of them admittedly do, you don't even understand the argument that was taking place.
And this is where my problem comes in the so-called intellectual community and process, not watching or citing your.
Why is he talking? Why is that particular person involved in this particular conversation? Because he's not involved in every single conversation they have. That pissed me off, not gonna lie.
Sources is a huge red flag. You can't just spitball some shit and then claim you're an intellectual, or go off a 30-second clip and claim you're an intellectual. Like, if you don't watch the podcast and admit that you don't watch the podcast and admit that you only see the clip. And I didn't watch their podcast, so I can't speak on that. But that is indeed the case. I know, right? Which is why I won't have a ton to say in here. But I do have a problem with someone not watching the podcast and having a deep opinion about the podcast.
And you don't argue. You don't know what the argument is about, where the argument came from. You don't know anything.
Well, that's part of where my acceptance of her non-invitation becomes relevant, right? Like Angela, right? I can assure you, like, I've got over 25 years in this business. I can assure you, if you and I are in the same place, it's a mistake on my part. Like, I'm all for people saying who's invited and uninvited places, so I ain't mad at it. But we would never be in the same space.
I disagree with that. And I took offense to that because it was almost saying that, yo, if you aren't this, if you don't have these accolades, I don't even want to communicate with you, right? And again, to my same point, politically or economically, some people can now say,
she didn't say shit about an accolade. And the thing is, she acknowledged that they had a very, their popular show, or that their show, wherever it is, they're like the top show, whatever. She acknowledged that. She said, I don't like that fucking energy when people don't want to fucking learn shit or listen. Ain't no point in talking to them. That's what the fuck she said. She ain't say nothing about, oh, you beneath me because you don't have enough money, or you don't have a pedigree, or this or that and the other. She purely said if people, when you're in a situation where people don't have curiosity, they lack curiosity, and they lack, the desire to be willing to at least think that they could learn something, then there's no point in talking to somebody. That's a completely different thing than saying, oh, you're not good enough because you don't have a certain kind of degree or you're not a part of certain kind of whatever. It had nothing to do with acquisitions or anything like that.
Say, if you don't have XYZ amount of dollars, I don't want to talk to you, and your opinion is fucking nothing to me.
Right. Well, and because of that, I wouldn't be so quick to cast aspersions on people that I don't know. Like, is what I'm saying. Like, I've never met these people. I've been in the business a long time. If we've never met, I'm not taking your content and then just assuming that I know about you or your character. It's in bad taste, which is why you'll never see a clip titled up here, Angela Rye, anything. No, I'm not watching the content. What you're talking about is not my vibe, and that's where the facts stop for me.
See, Flip is my friend, though. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so they were shooting at Flip a lot. It was unfair. And then we get into these spaces where, no, Flip may not have 3 degrees. I've been in Flip house. Mm-hmm. Flip got an elevator in his house. Mm-hmm. I've been around Flip. Flip generates more income than a lot of these.
When did anybody say anything about having a degree? Because this is the thing. You do not have to have a degree to have an analytical mind. You do not have to have a degree to have a mind that seeks knowledge. You do not have to have a degree to have pattern recognition. You do not have to have a degree to be willing to zone out into the macro and objectively look at things. The skills and things that Marc uses, a lot of people who do not have degrees naturally use. And what you do is you go to college to cultivate those skills and learn how to use them and learn how they are used in the broader scope of the world, in the broader scope of society. So that then you can have the same posture as a Marc Lamont Hill and go into different rooms with different kinds of people and get along and have their respect and have conversations and make change and push visions forward. Y'all are the ones sitting there thinking because you're on the most popular show of whatever, blah, 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 that people should just accept you when you're coming in there being ignorant and disrespectful and not wanting to learn and closed-minded. It is hood booger logic. Or we being real, what's that called? Elitist up in here tonight. We're going to be real elitist because I cannot abide it. And you know what? Now I'm going to get on a rant. Let's chill out for a second. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. One thing about being a leader that people like the people assembled in that room don't seem to understand is that leadership is not just about the accolades and it's not just about people treating you in a particular type of way. Leadership is about stewardship. It is about getting shit done. You're a leader because you have a vision and you are putting all of your energy towards making that vision happen. And when people see you doing that, they go, oh yeah, I want to get in on that because they're looking at the same vision you're looking at and they're saying, how can I help? Now, I have my issues with Marc Lamont Hill. We're going to get into that later. But one thing I can say about him is that he's a vision-minded person. And he is a communal person. He's a service-oriented person. So whatever he does, he is always, that is why he goes and he tries to politic and everything like that. Because he is a connector at the things that matter to him. The things that he sees as pertinent to what he views as the community. Put a pin in that. But you get what I'm saying? Even though I may have issues with what his vision of the community is and what's important to the community, I will never be able to take away from him that he gets shit done for his idea of community. Them niggas in there don't know nothing about that. And that is what is itching they fucking balls when they're sitting in the presence of someone who has that posture, natural or has cultivated that posture within himself. Rant over.
These so-called academics do. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, kid is well spoken.
So Flip's children are mannerly, they're polite as fuck, and they good kids that you would think grew up in fucking Livingston, New Jersey, somewhere, Short Hills.
So I don't have time for y'all looking at content and deciding which departments people are bright in and people are not. Who the fuck are you people? See, hold up, Marc. Any time for you to fucking cop a plea for your friends. That's a dead serious. Like, who the fuck are you? See, I'm cool with content lands being different too. Some of y'all
only get on camera with the
fact that that's a humiliation ritual. And you're not going to tell me it's not a humiliation ritual. The fact that he's aware that Mark is cool with them people and keeps trying to, you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, I want to talk shit about these people, and I wanted you to join me in talking shit about these people, and now I'm going to talk shit about these people at you because I know they're your friends. I don't like that.
Intellectual perfecting areas that you bright in. I don't pride myself in doing it that way. Like, I do things in real time. I allow people to see my shortcomings. I allow people to see where I made an error in judgment. I allow people to see I'm a fan of redemption. I allow people to see growth. I'm not just trying to only pop up when shit is good. I think that there's a certain courage in that. I think that takes a certain level of tact and boldness. So again, for you people to look and flip, y'all don't come on. I don't know if everybody's so bright in they fucking relationships.
No,
I don't know if everybody's having a blast with their parental situation. I don't know what your situation with your fucking kids or your siblings is like. I don't know what you like in social settings. All I know is what I see from the content. You quote unquote intellectuals seem to be pulling a lot from places that, again, like it said, you admittedly know very little about. It just comes off a way.
Yeah,
it comes off a way.
It's like if you put,
especially when you pretending to do all of this super black kumbaya shit. I got a problem with that too. I got a problem with the people that masquerade as kumbaya, super black, all for the people, and be the first one to tell you how we.
Sorry, mind you, you're not going to tell me he's not talking about Mark. But this is my issue. And now I feel like it's time to segue into some of my issues with Mark because, I have a problem with, the ones that talk about being abolitionists and this and that and the other. And not necessarily because I believe in the penal system so deeply, but it's because of the issue of what are we going to do with those people that do harm casually? What are we going to do with those people that do harm casually? And my problem with Mark is that when you have someone who believes, like I said, in his particular vision of what the community is, it's centered on black men. It's centered on black men and the idea that they are redeemable. And I'm not here to say whether they are or they aren't, but it's about this, I'm just going to keep giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just going to keep pouring into them and pouring into them and pouring into them. That's why the fuck he's sitting there right now. And you see how they're treating him. And he's all for them. Like Joe's sitting there going off on these people he feel like are leaders. Mark's not that person. Mark's that person that want to roll his sleeve up and sit down with y'all and try to bring y'all in and call you brother and everything like that. And look how the fuck y'all doing him. So why should any of the rest of us, that aren't even naturally inclined and want to be like that with y'all, even be giving you the time of day? Somebody got to let me know.
We're different. I come on every week and we're less different than we all. We just got different ideologies. But I'm not going to keep listening to people who in 25 years, I've never said the name Angela Rye. I don't give a fuck about nothing y'all talking about over there. I'm saying that respectfully. I don't come on here and say a word about any of that shit. I expect reciprocity. You could have titled that clip totally different.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Don't claim to be super pro-black and then take the #1 black urban podcast and put that type of stink on it because you think you got a friend over here. That don't give you a license.
See what he just did? Now you had the other one talk about some, y'all think because y'all got the #1 urban what's-a-face that you're owed some kind of stuff. No, because you're not, I just feel like when it comes to Joe specifically, and I get it. Like if I worked, I'm not saying he didn't work. Clearly this is his brainchild, his work, his baby, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So you should be proud of it and you should want to, you wouldn't be looking at it with a critical eye like other people outside of it, right? However, you think, because it's just that good. No, my nigga. You're there for the same reason Tyler Perry is where he is. Hello. The same reason TikTok is the way it is. Because for whatever reason, the masses respond to negativity. The masses respond to triggering. The masses respond to, bread and circuses. And that just is what it is. Now, that doesn't mean that people that stick to it and work hard and find a way to bring, quality and stuff can't make it, another channel. But in terms of like getting up there and just rising real fast and being mainstream and being maintained by the quote unquote powers that be, bread and circuses. Why is the movie industry sucking so bad lately? Bread and circuses, because they keep recycling things. Everything is an algorithm. Everything is designed to hit certain circuitry in your brain without any kind of thought about whether or not it's going to benefit you long term, whether or not it is helping you to evolve. You know what I mean? It's about, who's going to pay attention? How many people are going to pay attention? We just want more and more and more and more and more. And you feel like because you were able to tap into that's the same as what Angela Rye and Andrew Gillum, and now Andrew had his own stuff. I'm surprised maybe Joe just doesn't know about what happened with Andrew Gillum. But, and I will give him kudos if he doesn't. He didn't speak to that. But still, he was a politician. Service. You know what I mean? These are different people with a different set of values and things. And you're upset that she didn't look at you like a peer. And so now you're going to lash Mark for being her peer because she acknowledged him as a peer. And he acknowledged her as a peer. And you're sitting outside the club. But you got the power where you're sitting. Yeah, I see it.
I don't think that. I don't think Mark was here or not.
If Mark was here, they would never have those conversations.
No,
they're having those conversations because their friend is up here.
No, they're having those conversations because Mark is deemed an academic and an intellectual, which you
well,
are.
He is. Not deemed,
no, I said what you are. So now it's, why is he even there? Like Angela said, Mark, just come home.
Angela
Rye said, Mark, just come home.
That's the other
But then you go on to say how diverse Mark is. So I think that's an insult because you don't put Mark in a box. Mark is home. Mark is a black man sitting in a room with black men that grew up in similar circumstances, albeit we wasn't all in the cult. You can't say
we all had our own walks of life.
Yeah, dog. Like I just disagree with that shit.
And thank God there was a black-owned independent media company there to pick up our good brother when he was misunderstood by other outlets.
Talk about it.
Why is that part not being said by pro-black native land people? I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
Mark was a free agent. Y'all had a chance to bring him home.
And didn't.
You didn't. So don't sit up on your fucking platforms all pretentious as one of the Charlemites. That's how I know you. I know you as one of the Charlemites and get to saying what Mark should and shouldn't be doing. Please. If you didn't discuss this podcast before, if by your own admittance you know very little about it, shit, the woman Tiffany said at least 5 times that she don't give a fuck about these other opinions. All I'm asking is that you act like it.
All right. So you guys just saw that. You guys saw the back and forth. And I, for one, agree with Joe Budden and the podcast. I know, Shaka, right? There is a big divide between like intellectual podcasts.
I was talking for so long. That's what I get. That was my payback for catching it when I first started the live. When I first started the live, I wasn't talking before I unmuted myself. So now, they had to get it slicked back. Anyway, I was saying the reason that I wanted y'all to watch Blue's video because she was speaking about how it's important to have someone like Mark there, even though we are exacerbated, it's exacerbated and we feel like, it's beneath him and all this other stuff. We need people there like him to bring that intellect that other people wouldn't otherwise be exposed to, yada, 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 so forth and so on. But my problem is that why should someone like a Mark have to go through these humiliation rituals? All money ain't good money. And I get like he got to feed his family and this and that and the other, because I do remember Mark's streams on his YouTube channel coming up or whatever. And I mean, they were doing okay, but clearly he wasn't getting Joe Budden money. You get what I'm saying? So like, I understand needing to eat, and I understand Mark being the type of person, because I'm the same type of person, like, okay, it's an opportunity, I'll see what I can make of the opportunity. And even having that added context of knowing that Mark was trying to negotiate behind the scenes, as he should, knowing who he is, knowing what he brings, and saying, hey, look, I need more money. I know what I'm doing here. I know what my value is here. Because Joe definitely knows his value is here. And that whole last exchange we were watching lets you know that Joe knows exactly what Mark's value is there, because he was so offended by people differentiate. He sees other people differentiating Mark. So he knows that other people know. And now that other people are getting upset with Mark being, he knows it's potential that Mark could segue into better situations now that people are just like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of seeing him treated like this. I'm kind of tired of seeing him going through this. He deserves better. And now he wants to try to shit. I mean, now I don't remember. I feel like the Native Land podcast is only about a year. So maybe Mark came on around the same time as Native Land. I don't know. I mean, and it is a good question as far as like, oh, I put the link if anybody wants to come up. It is a good question in terms of like, why didn't they reach out to him? Why didn't they try to get him? Who knows? I don't know. But to be fair, that is a good question. But these situations are just about the same amount of time old. So Native Land is about a year old, and they saying Mark has only been there about a year. So I don't know. It said Mark is in a room with men who constantly disrespect him and invalidate his painful experiences. I don't even like Marc Lamont Hill, but he's not in a space with friends. They always try to be. Yes, like that's the part that I don't like, and that's what I said I didn't like. Even though I fuck with Marc Lamont Hill more than I fuck with Melissa Ford, but even when it was just Melissa Ford, I did not like the dynamics in there. You get what I'm saying? And it wasn't necessarily just. I mean, yes, it was about misogyny and it was about, man, woman type stuff or whatever, because it was she was there to symbolize womanhood, women, all of those things, so that when they were talking to her, it wasn't just talking to her. And I feel like the same thing is being done to Marc Lamont Hill. I feel like he probably naively enough thought, oh, I can come in and people respect me and this and that and the other. But you see every single time, it always devolves into this dick measuring contest when he's not even trying to measure, is what they say, you can't compete where you don't compare. And they want to act like, oh, there is no comparison, but there is. And the thing is, it doesn't have to necessarily be to like your diminishment, but it's the posturing of, oh, well, I shouldn't have to be questioned and it should be taken as it is. And these things are along the same line. They're not. Everything does not measure up to the same thing. If you're wrong about something, you're wrong about something. If something you're saying is nonsensical, it's nonsensical. If something you're saying is categorically false, it's categorically false. And to be upset with people because they can point it out and articulate how and why it's false is really crazy. And they got to do it every single time. And like I said, that clip with Mona just showed, like, it's not like it's personal to Mark per se, but it's anybody who is sharp enough, who is quick enough, who's intelligent enough and charismatic enough and likable enough. That's why they don't need to be there, because they're bigger than, honestly, if Mark was smart, he would chit and chat to Mona and say, hey, Mona, let's go. I swear that would be a whole nother, they may not be the biggest because, the trends are the trends, right? But I think they would be big enough for him to be able to work and not have his fucking blood pressure about to pop a blood vessel in his temple. And so Mark is trying to connect, and Joe said, absolutely. Yes, Mark is always trying to connect. That's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and play this other thing that I found like right at the last minute before I came up, because I was looking for some other things. Well, I think I'll play that one at the end. Like, that explains why I side-eyed Marc Lamont Hill. But even look at this. Look at this. This is another example of like how he is treated there. Oh, wait. Let me pause it. I wasn't sharing yet. This is yet another example of how he gets treated, where it's like you can sit and say, oh, yeah, he's helping the community, but he shouldn't have to be a martyr in order to do so. He shouldn't have to sacrifice this much.
At 50 years old, you still writing essays?
Yeah, I'm a writer.
God.
You know, I'm writing an essay on this for the last month or so.
At 50 years old, you still writing essays?
Yeah, I'm a writer.
God damn.
This is what you hear.
I figured essay writing would have been done at some point.
He's a PhD.
Well, I write essays for a living. How old are you?
For who?
How old are you?
49. For who?
Yeah, you still go on first dates.
I'm telling you.
You know what I'm saying? You 49 going to first dates with the same person. Like we all got our cycles.
Who do you write essays for?
You don't want to do this.
Who do you write essays for?
No, you know.
Like, that's the type of stuff I'm talking. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and that, you know, he was able to laugh it off and pivot and make his joke. Like I said, just like Mona. But when you do that over and over and over and over and over again, to the point where now people starting to feel like, oh, you be saying slick shit. No, nigga, I'm ripping. We riffing, ain't we? We making jokes. You was making jokes on me about how I live my life. And you get what I'm saying? Scholarship. This high school ass shit, man. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's water is wet. Fork found in kitchen. Like, this is what's said I write essays for fun. Like, now mind you, for all the shit I'm saying, I wouldn't want to do it, but what the fuck I look like coming at him for doing so? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's amazing to have the capacity. To have the capacity. I mean, I have the capacity, but I don't want to. It's that they can't read nor write, so they can't relate. Unplug the mics for real. Hey, Crispy.
Hey. Oh, okay, cool. I'm on stage. Child, I'm trying to get this technology together. My God, today.
How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying the fact that it is not as hot as Joe Budden's mouth in Atlanta no more.
Girl, yes, we finally sweater weather.
Sweater weather. Like, okay, I don't even know where to start. I guess I should start here. And maybe level set a little bit about anti-intellectualism versus, you know, sometimes us coming off as being condescending. So let me try to have grace because I'm growing and learning.
Yes. Okay.
So I understand, especially as a person who went from private school to public school and had to deal with being called an Oreo, and, you know, you sound like a white girl, and why you talk so proper, and why you talk like a white person, and, you know, why you always up under the teachers, and you always raising your hand, et cetera, et cetera. There is a certain, I don't know if I want to call it vitriol, but a certain irritation, a funk, if you will, that some of us in the community get when we're around someone who is either naturally curious or comes from a home or from a group of people or a community that requires a certain level of either academic excellence, curiosity, follow through, execution, etc. And so I've dealt with that in my own personal life. So this circumstance with whom I like to refer to as Marc Lamont Hill is unsurprising to me. What I do find interesting about this particular circumstance, because I got smoke for everybody in some kind of way, and I hopefully will get around to it. But what I find interesting about this circumstance is that many of Joe Budden's homeboys, the Ice, the Ishes, the Imanis, the Flips in this circumstance, do not seem to, or maybe they do understand and they're feigning ignorance because they're getting paid, but they don't seem to understand how deeply puppeteered they are by Joe Budden. Because Joe Budden, for all the things that he is, he's not dumb, ignorant sometimes, a hot mess, abusive verbally and mentally at minimum. We've seen that publicly. But I don't understand how they don't check him or clock him about that puppeteering. And I was kind of talking about this in the comments a little bit when Joe was doing his rant about Angela Rye and the Native Land podcast and their reaction to that particular clip between Dark Lamont Hill and Queen's Flip. The way that he reacted to Mark trying to interject and finish his statement and essentially telling him, no, F that, I'm not going to let you defend your friends on here. That was also a moment where Dark Lamont Hill should have come to the surface, because who are you talking to? Like, yeah, you're paying me, but you're also paying me because your cronies don't make as much money and bring as much energy to this podcast as I do. And in the creative world, whoever brings the most energy, does the most marketing, has the most engagement with the audience is going to be the person that gets paid more. That's just how that works. This is not, a quote unquote equal opportunity situation. This is not corporate America. So I just that was something that I think has been interesting over the years, because this is also like the sixth iteration of this show. Joe had it out with a young lady that he had co-hosting with him way in the beginning of the podcast and kicked her off. Then there was the circumstance with Rory and Mal and their separation from the show. I don't remember what the actual instigation was, but it was another one of them situations where Mal specifically was not about to let Joe talk to him any kind of way, especially on air, and they parted ways. Then he brought, I think it's Ish and Ice on and one other person, and it has evolved from there. And then eventually brought Melissa Ford, which I agree with you. As beautiful as Melissa is, even back when she was on Jason, whatever his name is, another messy gossip person, and she had that accident, her brain has been a little fuzzy, but she's always been, kind of male censored, and also did not stand up for herself very often on the JBP podcast. And allowed herself in certain ways. I'm not victim blaming, but I think that check was also similar to how Flip and the others act. That check was keeping them from checking Joe, because Joe constantly disrespects his co-host. He constantly puts them in weird situations, which brings us to now. Joe is who instigated this circumstance, but Flip wanted to have heat with Mark. Now, yes, Mark might have been being slick at the mouth, but Mark and Flip have been kind of going back and forth, and then Mark and Ish have been kind of going back and forth because they don't like the fact that he does talk above their heads, for lack of a better phrase. But you all knew who Marc Lamont Hill was before he came. Also, instead of you all jumping down Marc Lamont Hill's throat, you need to be looking to Joe. Why do you keep instigating between us? Why do you put us in circumstances where we end up having to come to verbal and possibly physical blows? Why are you discussing compensation on air? He's doing these things intentionally to create moments on the podcast. Now, fast forward, we got Mark and Mona on here. Mark is trying to get y'all up out of here, and that's the real issue. That's why Flip and Ish, maybe not so much Imani and Ice, are struggling, because you all don't bring the same level of content. You don't bring this certain level of consciousness and intellectualism, and y'all don't be prepared. Joe has talked about that over the years as well. Y'all come up there without looking at the content and the articles that he shares with you all, and you're mad because Mona and Mark actually put on display that they can read and that they are literate, media literate, and intellectually literate in general. Absolutely, I agree. They are cowards. And y'all know that there's no other check sitting around for you all, because you don't bring any real value. I had to do some research on Queen's Flip, and then I'm going to land. Queen's Flip is famous for doing weird skits and pranks on the internet, and also being a loudmouth part of the underground / battle rap scene in New York. So you don't, and if I'm not mistaken, he had a show or a segment that was on the JBP network that was doing okay, but then the second season came back and it didn't do well. At the end of the day,
that's where I know that name from. I'm like, I've heard the name before, but I only knew him from Joe Budden in terms of like seeing him and stuff. But yes, the battle rap. Thank you.
Yeah. And just keeping it a buck, a lot of them battle rap dudes are very mean and vitriolic and disrespectful, and they only really get away with stunts. They're not typically actually funny or engaging or interesting or unique. So and if you're not good at freestyling your own whatever media situation, you're not going to make it here. You would not be here if it wasn't for Joe. And the fact that you are depending on him to write checks for you also tells me a little bit about who you are as a man, but we ain't having that conversation today. So yeah, Joe is an instigator. He is abusive, not only to women, but also obviously to his co-hosts, his quote unquote homeboys that he be putting on, etc. And as far as Marc Lamont Hill is concerned, I know he's just there for a check, which is why he was even having conversations behind the scenes with Joe about, hey, I need more money, because Mark also has his own platform and he knows how much these YouTube channels make, and he knows what his contribution is to that show, and he knows what his co-workers are not doing and what they are doing, which is why Flip kept talking about some, you doing all this other stuff behind the scenes to try to say what other people are not doing. Like, okay, fine, you could call Mark a snitch for that, but is he a snitch or is he stating the obvious? Because if you all were investing in the JBP podcast in that way, you wouldn't be mad that Mark was doing it. And it only makes sense that if you too have a media platform, which Flips does, he's got like 900,000 plus followers on Instagram. If you would do a little bit more promo, engage more with the audience that's there, though you can't because you don't have the skill sets and you refuse to pay somebody to help you with it, then maybe you wouldn't feel so insecure. Maybe you wouldn't feel like you're potentially having your place taken. Because let's keep it a bean. The only people in Joe's audience that are engaging with you are men that are like you. And that's not the majority of Joe Budden podcast audience. It's a big part of it, but it's not the majority. So I think that everybody needs to leave Joe Budden alone. Joe Budden has created very toxic work environments for the last 6 to 7 years for folks. Not even just here, even when he was doing what was it, For the Culture with academics and that other lady, and then State of the Culture that he had. I don't remember, was it Angela Rye and Remy Ma and somebody else that was on State of the Culture? I don't remember. And one last thing, love Angela Rye, but Angela Rye be canoodling with Charlemagne the God. So even though I agree with her about her assessment of the situation, you two hang out with platform and support problematic Black men. So I need her to tread lightly and carefully about how she responds to circumstances like this, because responding to circumstances like this in the way that you did, but you will Watusi your butt up to the Breakfast Club where problematic people like DJ Envy and Charlemagne the God are located, and be BFFs and have podcasts on the Black Effect Podcast Network and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken, she used to have, it's a no-go for me. And Marc Lamont Hill, it's fine for you to be on the JVP podcast, but you also have to be intellectually honest about why you are there. You are there because you know that he has a large platform. You know that you can get paid, but it does not serve you or your core audience for you to be there.
Fire as always. I wish I had the thing. Fire. I was writing notes as you were talking, because one of the things, the last thing you said about Queen's Flip, being upset about Mark asking questions or pointing certain things out. First of all, that's what having that intellectual curiosity will do for you, because why the fuck wouldn't your friend Joe Budden want you? Like, why would he have you there if he knows? Because you know that Joe knows that Queen's Flip isn't doing all that stuff. So why is he okay with you posting? Why is he okay with you coasting? And why are you worried about somebody pointing out what you're not? So are you trying to take advantage of your friend? You get what I'm saying? Like, this is an industry. Joe been in this industry a long fucking time. And you worried about Mark coming in and saying, oh, he ain't doing it. You think Joe don't know? Why would your friend have you just sitting there? And the reason that they're okay with sitting there is 27 niggas in there just sitting around, because they're okay with sitting on the passenger side of their best friend's ride. There's fucking scrubs next to Joe Budden. They're fucking scrubs, and they're okay with it. Why? Because they're like, oh, well, I'm on the top, using that as an accolade. And that's why Joe's willing to coast. So that's why he's not worried really truly about quality control. He'll have a Marc Lamont Hill on there and a Mona on there, to try to extract from them, just like white men. Typical. But he doesn't care about the quality of what it is he's giving. He just cares about the fact that, oh, I got to top this, that, and the other, and that should mean something. It doesn't. You're a fucking shitmonger. You're a shitmonger.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you might be getting money for it, but don't get mad when people call you a fucking shitmonger. That's what you're doing. Like,
and I'm sorry, just one more thing.
No,
anybody who's been paying attention to the JBP podcast for some time, I watched back in when it was in the episode count of the 200s, when Rory and Maul was still there, when I was still trying to develop my own podcast and just trying to figure out the lay of the land. Anybody that's been watching Joe for any amount of time know that he wants to be a stronghold in the media space. He has had numerous productions with numerous people, specifically in the hip hop sector. And so knowing that about him and knowing that he also wants to be legitimized in the media space, I don't understand why they're not paying attention to that. If I was Flip or Ish or Imani, maybe not so much Parks, because Parks is kind of keyed in because Parks takes care of a lot of the technical aspects of the podcast, or I was Ice, I would be keeping my eye on Joe at all times because Joe is not loyal. Joe, if you don't do what he says, behave how he wants to, you don't participate in the foolery and the coonery and stuff on camera, he's going to flip you inside out, upside down. Even with the Melissa Ford situation, I may not be so much into her, but notice how she kind of got slid out of the lineup. Now, some people are saying it's because she used to date Marc Lamont Hill. Some are saying because she was sick of being mistreated on the show. There's any number of reasons, but no one has given us true understanding. And even with that, Joe was being petty about her leaving. So he's not kind. He's not professional. He's the only thing he's consistent at is that high level of manipulation. And no disrespect to the Virgos in the audience, but come get your boy. He's wilding. It's just
that's just how he been. No, you're absolutely right. Like I don't understand how anybody and that was another reason why I was disappointed in Mark, because I'm like, to me, and it's not me saying that because I feel like Joe Budden is just so cunning or whatever. It's just about why are you even gonna let this nigga play in your face, because you know that's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know he's going to try it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like at some point you have to think better of yourself. And like I said, I get that people got to eat. Palms got to be greased. I understand, right? But it's like, believe enough in yourself. I feel I'm like Sway right now. Invest in yourself. You don't have all the answers, right? And I don't, because I'm here with my little struggle. What did I say? A YouTubian struggle streamer, and I'm fine with that, right?
Struggle streamer is crazy. I can't stand you.
That's what what's his name? Umar had said that time when they was coming at him about his daughter, and he had called somebody on here YouTubian struggle streamer because they had interviewed his daughter.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well,
he will forever be the big, but like I get and because my thing is, even with everybody that's talking about this situation when it went viral, everyone's saying the same thing about Mark. He is revered. And I get that didn't translate into dollars, but being that he knows the thing, like I just feel like if he just sat a little bit longer and thought about it, he could have came up with a way to get his own stuff. You know what I mean? And start building from there. No, would it have been the Joe Budden numbers? Absolutely not. But I feel like if he would have, because I used to see him doing his lives on YouTube regularly.
But his platform is not that bad. He's got a decent following because, he has his own podcast. And somebody just reminded me in the comments that he also is doing work with one of the other producers on the JBP podcast. So, like, to your point,
that's
though,
what I'm saying. Like, he has his hand in so many different pots and he has so many different connections. I think he just was like, sometimes when you're struggling or you feel like you're struggling and somebody throws you what feels like a line, you'll just bite and say, oh, this is okay for now, and I'll see how I can take it. Like, I get it.
But no, most definitely. And listen, I'm not above petty things. And if I had been offered an opportunity on a very ignorant podcast and I knew that I could make an easy check, I'm not going to lie, I might do it. But we also need exit strategies and we also need maintenance strategies. I'm not going to get into that type of verbal altercation on camera to be for my likeness to be utilized for the salacious things that have happened post this interaction. I'm not going to give Joe that. That's not what I'm getting paid for. I'm getting paid to provide my thoughts, my insight, and my engagement. But I'm not going to get up there and give
me and have me drag my friends for your pleasure, and you get what I like, and then keep like dragging them in my face and basically daring me to defend them, or you get what like.
And speaking of dragging somebody to their face. I really, I don't want her to do it on camera, but I wanted Mona to pop Joe so bad. Who you calling a bitch? Who are you talking to on camera?
That is why I love like the clips I see Mona, because I only watch Mona in clips too. But because she is okay with being around men that much,
Yeah.
that's always happening. And I'm getting so upset that's why I don't watch Mona. Because she spends so much time around niggas and they always do that.
Mm-hmm.
But to be around dudes, if you're not like somebody like me, I don't give a fuck about burning fucking bridge because I wasn't never trying to be near you. Right. And I'm not saying
Right.
she's necessarily trying to be near them, but she's okay being in community. But these are peoples.
Yeah.
So when you fuck with dudes like that, you're going to have to take a lot of those types of situations to the chin because you just not going to feel like fighting every single time. And I don't have any patience for that. My nerves are too bad.
Yeah, and it's disrespectful because also like you're not a W-2 employer. Not that would make it okay. This is contract work. We're in a creative situation. So off camera, there would have been a very serious conversation about who the fuck are you talking to? Don't you ever refer to me as a B word on camera or in real life ever again? Because I'll put one in your mouth. Like, don't play with me like that. And especially because I am also now one half of the most engaging part of your podcast. Please don't fucking play with me. Don't let the fact that you have this large platform go to your head. People already have a perception of you. And if you really wanted me to go there and be petty and disrespectful, we can go to Lipstick Alley and start another thread about who you don't put your hands on, whose child support you haven't paid, and how many of your children you have not seen. Since you want to play games.
But that's the issue. When you step foot in there, you already know all of that. And that's what I'm saying about anybody. You know what I mean? That's going to sit up in there. Like, I will give it to people. If you're on a tour of promoting something, he is the biggest show. So you go there, spend an hour or two yapping, I'll give you that. But when you want to sit up in there and you just in there casually hanging out on the regular, like these your folks, that's when I'm just like, all right, come on. But again, everybody that walks in there already know that this man was on at least a solid decade worth of reality TV with all his bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows what's going on with this nigga. Everybody knows how he gets down. On top of, the constant changes in his lineup of his show. So everybody knows how this nigga get down. If you went in there, you already knew but that's what happens when you make deals with the devil.
And Joe is one of them for sure.
Yeah, you making deals with the devil. And the thing is, like you said, he wants that legitimacy of saying, oh, well, look what I built. Yeah, but again, an empire is in hell. It may be an empire, but nigga, I'm in hell. I don't want to be in hell. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to have to suffer for I think about DJ Khaled suffering for success. I don't want to have to suffer for success. I'm willing to work. Mark's a hard worker. But I shouldn't have to suffer under you. And he makes it clear that there is a hierarchy. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be somewhat of a hierarchy. It is.
I lost connection. Can y'all still hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. I can hear you. But we'll wait till you come back. You shouldn't have to bow down in that way. There's something about the way. There you go.
It started calling me.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
There's something about the way that he requires people to bow down under his feet. I don't like watching people do that. You know what I mean? I don't like watching that. I don't like watching that exchange. Even though, everybody's like, oh, it's cool, it's nothing, this and that and the other. Because I'm so attuned to that type of thing, I can't take it. Even if I'm not really partial to the person it's happening to, I don't like it.
Yeah, just very, very wild. Very, very wild. I know I personally couldn't have anything to do with Joe. And of course, we all have our stories about, as you say, trying to be struggle streamers out here and trying to get into the space and trying to make a place for ourselves. But I will say, especially post-election, there are just certain things emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically I cannot participate in. And so the Joe Budden podcast, I had stopped watching it shortly after Rory and Mal made their exit. Who are also raging misogynists and chauvinists as well, but they did provide a little bit more balance, and both of them were a lot more intelligent. And also during that time period, they all spent more time focused on what the podcast is supposed to be about, which is about music, versus talking about, hot topics and what's in the news and other people's relationships and who got in an accident and who effing with who, et cetera, et cetera. And just in general, and then I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I gotta get this phone call back. We are having, though it is a stressful time, it is a revelatory time. So whether it's Joe Budden, Stephen A. Smith, the Cheeto in chief, et cetera, we are seeing where that Y chromosome, and no disrespect to the ones that are in the audience, if it don't apply, let it fly. We are seeing where many of the people who have large platforms, wide-reaching voices, and strong opinions, where their opinions lie, not only about their co-workers and their co-hosts, but also about women, and in particular Black women. Again, we discussed, Melissa being mistreated, Mona being called a B word on air, etc. Yeah, the podcast is supposed to be about music. Joe, talks about the music that is coming out, and etc. There was a time, not Cankles and Chief. Uh, there was a time where they spent most of their time on that information, but Joe, again, being a media savvy person, knew that to expand his footprint, he was going to have different, wider reaching conversations. And unfortunately, it has turned into this faux Hollywood shuffle version of a music podcast slash ESPN broadcast slash hood nigga news CNN wannabe type of thing.
Good nigga news.
Yeah,
Okay.
shout out to Janae. She's on TikTok, and she actually does HNN a couple of days of the week. But it's sad to watch, but also it was coming down the pipeline. And as we continue to see who people actually are, whether it's through their media platforms, their political leanings and connections, through the way that they treat us, the way that they speak to us, the things that they platform to us, this is going to create an opportunity for all of us in some fashion or form to make certain determinations about who we're going to engage with, who we're going to spend our time, money, and energy with. And I would encourage everyone that is listening that yes, we definitely need to critique and engage in these things to make sure that people understand that we don't mess with this kind of stuff. It's bullshit, it's tired, it's old, it's disrespectful, it's unkind, it's ungodly for those that believe. But also make sure that we continue to build space for ourselves to be away from that stuff. Joe Budden is a nuisance. He got a VIP section in hell, and even though I want everybody to have bottle service, not this kind of bottle service.
Girl, a word. And we were just talking about that yesterday, or I was talking about that yesterday about, this attention economy and how our attention is current in this current in society right now. We have to be aware of that. Like, we all thinking we're just having fun, we're just zoning, we're just engaging or whatever, but we are actually feeding these machines, and we're actually the reason. There's a reason Joe Budden is the top whatever he keeps saying or whatever, and it's people. Toilet green is made of people, my nigga. Like, we have to recognize that we are cannibalizing ourselves with the bullshit that we are. And I know, most of us in this room are not, but even I'm trying to be better at it, casually engaging. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because again, like you said, we still need to make sure that we let these folks know through our voices, hey, this is bullshit, we don't want to hear this shit. But also, give ourselves a space to not be ingratiated by it.
I know you gotta go, but I wanted to get your opinion on this. I saw this like right before I was coming up to do this live, when I was searching for something else.
Okay.
This sister is spitting, and this is the reason why I say, like, I don't really, even though I see good virtues in Marc Lamont Hill, I still keep my distance in terms of being like, oh yes, I'm Team Marc Lamont Hill and this and that and the other because of these things and the things you were talking about earlier, like who he keeps company with, how he seems to conveniently be unaware or whatever, politicking with certain types of people, keeping certain type of company, same thing you said about Angela Rye. So I'll go ahead and share this and then we can come back real quick if you have time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
For me, I know people won't agree with me, but I see a lot more similarities between Dr. Marc Lamont Hill and that ish guy than I do differences. Quite honestly, they're both given red pill, manosphere, incel energy. And I don't say this to be controversial, because I understand that one wears the mask of being obtuse and the other of being astute. However, when you remove the mask, I'm just picking up a pattern of insecurity, misogynoir, and chasing that master, or at least proximity to them. I stay on decenter men, but I bring this up because I'm seeing a lot of sisters cape Dr. Hill, like, how dare Ish and Joe Budden treat him like this with all of his degrees and intelligence. I'm going to tell you what I've observed and what I've personally experienced with Dr. Marc Lamont Hill that has given me great pause. The first thing, he's from Philly, so I've seen this cat around for 15, 20 years. I'm just going to say it. I always find it suspicious when I see someone who is pro anything more than they're pro blackness. And it's been a controversial take because, like, he has been pro Palestine before it was even cool for a lot of these content creators to have a watermelon in their bio. That's real for him, and I respect that. However, when I hear you speak that more than I hear you speak, I'm just like, what's that about? Maybe I'm calculating that incorrectly. But let's just peep how you're choosing to be on a show with a host who has a long history of being accused of physically abusing women, black women, one to the degree that she miscarried. That was a choice. You've also chosen to be on The Breakfast Club numerous times post Charlemagne being accused of rape. Do you see the pattern? I'm not trying to interrupt anybody's bag, but he presents himself as a very ethical and moral man. Yet he's breaking bread with black men who are serial abusers. There was that other thing where he was the host of the Basketball Wives reunion. That is a very violent show. But that particular season was egregiously violent. There was a newcomer named OG. She's a Nigerian American sister, very beautiful, very intelligent, and very self-assured. And that rubbed Evelyn and a lot of those other sisters on there, other women, because that's a different type of sister, other sisters on there the wrong way, right? And Evelyn made several colorist remarks. And during reunion, Marc, with all of his intelligence and all of his degrees and all of his journalistic experience, denied that sister justice. He elected to present as obtuse. And like he didn't understand what she was experiencing, and she was being called animal names by that Puerto Rican sister. Entertainment is only entertainment until it becomes real. And that wasn't a missed opportunity. That was a calculated move. That's his digital footprint, right, for me. But my personal experiences. I've been to his bookstore numerous times. I have held meetings there. I've purchased plenty of things. One time when I was online getting tickets, because he has some pretty good speakers come in and performances, etc., authors. One time when I was online, I saw that he had this giant picture of Lib Wally, and he was like marking a show or a book or something of his. It was right at the height Talib being banned from Twitter for harassing that sister from, I think, Spelman or somewhere, and harassing other Black women. I mean, the evidence was there. It was in black and white. Yet he was still pushing this man who was very abusive to Black women, very just violent and just vile. And so I emailed him and his establishment. I was like, yo, what is this about? A business that supports, amplifies a man who would conduct himself in this way. I never got a message back. Cool, let that slide. But then he was a speaker at my daughter's former school. If you look at my first pinned video, I talk about how she was abused. And when I say abused, I don't mean like yell at. No, I mean the white nurse forced her to dig in a dirty toilet. They did not investigate. They refused to notify parents that this had happened to find out if their kids had reported being abused. They silenced me. They weaponized my child against me. And they just like traumatized my family and other families as well. And so when he was set to be a speaker at Black History event, I ran into him at an event and I was like, yo, I see that you're speaking. I don't want to stop you, but I'm wondering if you're open to having a conversation to hear what a lot of the Black parents are experiencing and issues that are being ignored. He was like, oh, yes, I'm curious. I would love to hear it. Email me. So that was a conversation outside this event. Inside, I got with him again and I was like, yo, let me just be clear. Like, let me just hip you to what's happening. And he was like, yo, that's wild. Email me. I want to talk to you. I would love to help. Emailed him, crickets. Emailed him again, crickets. That was a choice. And I'm sure he had conflict because he had a personal relationship with the parent of a student there. But I'm just saying, the pattern is there. All of this, him being on these shows with these manosphere men, it's a bag for him. And it's just gaslighting to us. This shit isn't real. It is no different than the content creators who target Black women at a particular time in the month so that they can get their bag. We don't have time for this. This is not where our energy needs to be.
Ooh, child.
Right? I was like, oh.
You know, people have, of course, have been talking for a long time at length about his fervent support of the watermelon people, which I don't personally have an issue with that. And let me tread carefully because I have some slightly controversial opinions about that.
Hold on one second, because I'm not familiar with this. What does that mean?
The people in Gaza.
Okay. What's the watermelon?
I've never investigated where that came from, but it is something TikTok, or at least something that TikTok taught me. So people that have watermelon slices in their bios, that often is an indication that they are in support of the people in Gaza.
Okay. All right. I'm up to speed now. Thank you. I thought it was about being Black.
I'm gonna say this real quick, and because I need to. I don't want to do too much on your platform. If you are white with a taco, if you are white with a falafel, if you are white with Alfredo, it doesn't matter to me. I am never going to, on a public platform, put 20 on 10 for another group of people other than my own. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. But you know, that's Mark's business if that's what he wants to do, and he has, like I said, been a fervent advocate for a long time, since before it was popular to do so. And if I'm not mistaken, that's part of the reason why he got ran off of CNN or maybe somewhere else one time. As far as the rest of it is concerned, okay, cool, Mark is married, but also, like, water is wet. We know that most Y chromosomes have not examined patriarchy or the way that white supremacy or anti-Blackness shows up in their personalities and therefore their art or their work. And so it's unsurprising to me that Mark would go ahead and work with someone who, while they may not have necessarily been, because I don't know if Joe has been what is it, actually charged and found guilty of the crimes, but again, we know what we've seen. But it's unsurprising to me because even with men that may not necessarily do those things to the women in their lives, as long as it doesn't impact their bag or they don't feel any guilt or shame around it, they will gladly go into the barbershop, go into digital platforms, go into jobs, and work with other men who have. And while I hate to bring the conversation back around to that, because the internet conversation around men and their behavior is so pervasive, but that's why it's also so important when you're interacting with men, especially those who have a public platform, to find out who their friends and their colleagues are. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Again, it doesn't impact him personally. At least what we see or whatever. And like I said, I think that ultimately Mark is about getting his bag. And so if someone else's controversies don't create friction for him, he's probably going to go for it. I'm not necessarily, yeah, he's going to probably go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I was more so playing. I chose that for the stuff she was saying, like about his history and not his history, but like the history of the people he hangs with and what that indicates and how he conducts himself. Because, like I said, yes, he is a very personable person and he's a politicker, right? And so, as a politicker, he's going to shuffle along, and we've all seen that behavior of just like, oh wait, no, what happened? Oh, I didn't know. We've seen that in practice, and like that is very irritating for me personally as an individual when I see somebody doing that, because it's like, okay, any other time you just so astute, but this particular thing you just don't understand what's going on. But okay, I see you, and it's him, and there's another creator on YouTube specifically, and many other creators like that. That's a big reason why even when I see a male creator and I like what they're saying, and I'm like, okay, I have to sit back and wait, until the right conversation arises to be able to be like, all right, there it is. You know what I mean? Because you'll get to that point where it's just like, when that distinction needs to be made, that person is going to just be like, oh, well, they're either going to shrug it off, if not outright say, well, the situation, the part of the situation that affects women isn't really of a priority to them. You get what I'm saying? And mind you, just in recent years, I learned about Mark's history with like the Nuwapian cult. And I have personal beef with them niggas because I have family. You know what I mean? Like, so I was just like, okay, that tracks. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's hard as a person because like, I know I come and I talk, like I was saying about the whole Mona situation. The way Mona shows up, I don't want to have to be that. That's in me. You get what I'm saying? And as I've grown up around niggas and had that come out, I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel like all of that. And that only happens when I'm around you.
Correct. I never get this triggered around women. Never get this triggered around women.
Yeah. So it's just like recognizing that and speaking on that. And then you get labeled, you're a misandrist. Call it what you want. Right? I don't even really care about how you label me in that, but that's just not going to fly. I can't deal with it, even if it comes dressed up in a suit with eloquence and all that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. I was laughing a little bit ago because a particular, I'm not going to talk about it, but a particular thing came top of mind. Yeah, you gotta watch the Y chromosomes. I'm so sorry, and I know there's some of them who are peaceful and mindful and thoughtful and considerate and curious and not hyper misogynistic and all those different types of things. But
Girl,
no,
somebody was going back and forth with me. Dominique Morgan's comments because Dominique had made a comment, an offhand comment about Deontay Kyle. And,
Lord Jesus. Okay.
and she was just basically saying like Deontay has a lot of good points and this and that and the other, but sometimes he says some things and it's a little iffy. And a lot of people were in the comments and were like, yeah, you know, and I said, yeah, I got my good eye on him. Girl, some girl was going back and forth with me about how you got to look at a grown man. Everybody's not perfect, this and that and the other. I said, are we supposed to be using discernment or not? Is it Uchiwali or one mic? Because whenever something goes wrong, people always say, oh, the women didn't see it and did blah, 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 blah. So she's talking about something, oh, it's just weird. You talk about a grown man. I said, it's weird having an issue, taking issue with people using their own discernment. And I never said like, oh, he needs to be canceled. I hate him, nothing like that. I'm just saying like, I'm not going to just dive into the deep end of the pool with him. Yes, he cracks me the fuck up.
Yeah,
Stuff
he's quite
that I
funny.
see. You know, and he's sharp and intelligent and all of those things, but I still see that, you know, I'm able to catch it a little quicker than I used to be able to when I would just be getting very invested.
And let me real quick, as it relates to Deontay Kyle, and especially because he's getting dragged about his, you know, Jesus in the way comments recently. If you are under the sound of my voice, please say this to others as well. Stop creating false prophets in human beings. Let's say it again. Stop creating false prophets in human beings. Part of the reason why we have that situation with the Marvin Winans or Marvin Sapp or whatever, many of these leaders, whether they're church leaders or just leaders in the community, Jamal Bryant, et cetera, is because we keep holding folks up that don't need to be held up. Deontay Kyle, like you said, is sharp, very intelligent. He makes a lot of good points. He's got great comedic timing. He's engaged, has modern perspective. That doesn't mean that we need to put him on a pedestal. That's part of the problem within the community is we keep pedestalizing people instead of humanizing them. He's just another person like any one of us. We don't need another Martin Luther King. We don't need another Malcolm X. We don't need another Medgar Evers or Bay Russell. We don't need any of that. We just need everybody to get on code internally and govern themselves accordingly. So that comment around like why you got to keep your eye on him, so on and so forth, I would then counter and say, why do you need to pedestalize someone to feel like you can be present and good and healthy in your blackness or your spirituality or whatever your identities or intersections are?
Yeah, well, you know, because I feel like there's this deep yearning. We've all been indoctrinated with that feeling of paternalistic type things. You know what I mean? And that feeling of being under the cover of a man, of a male, if it's God, if it's Jesus, if it's whoever the leader figure is. You know what I mean? And I think that is going to be like the hardest yoke to break off of our back, collective backs.
Yeah.
This idea that, oh, we have to be headed by some male figure. And like I said, I have to personally check myself, not as hard anymore because it's gotten easier to just be able to observe somebody and say, okay, I enjoy this aspect of what they're doing, but I'm also keeping my vision clear to see these other things so that I'm not, oh my God, I can't believe they did that, you know, later on down the line when they inevitably say the thing. But a lot of us are still immediately sinking into that dopamine spike of, oh, it's a man talking sense.
Yeah.
You know? Like, oh my God, he's talking like a human being. Oh! You know, and then it gets so hard to be able to step back.
Yeah, listen, we gotta. I understand when there is a lack of something, and then we finally get to see a version or hear a version of something that we like to hear. We have got to learn to check ourselves. Something my grandparents always told me was, you don't get a gold star for doing what you're supposed to do. So when we hear people saying things that are that should be a standard in most of our lives, because we don't hear it from that kind of person often, we turn around and pedestalize them or try to turn them into some sort of prophet or some person to look up to. we all, those of us who are decently literate, whether you went to college or not, can say something dynamic and wise at any given moment. That doesn't mean that we are living that, and it doesn't mean that we are the embodiment of that, and it also does not mean that person or whomever that group needs to be your leader. And a lot of this pedestalization is because of a lack of self accountability and self discipline and willingness to walk in the words and the desires in which you claim are of your heart.
Hello.
So somebody said it in the audience so that you can have the opportunity to blame somebody else if you fall short of glory.
Yep.
And that's just not how it works. We are not in a time in history, be it economically, spiritually, socially, culturally, emotionally, etc., where we can continue to lay our burdens on the philosophies and the ideals of other people. We must self-govern. If you don't self-govern, you're going to end up in places and spaces that you don't want to be in. And I know that can be hard, especially if you spent your entire life relying on the words and the prophet and the prophesying and the speeches and the ideals of other people. But it's time for us to get off of other people's quote unquote principles and ideals and values and core tenets and start building on the things that we know that we can sustain. And don't be out here pedestalizing people and ideas and philosophies and ways of being that you know you cannot maintain. With radical self-honesty.
That is so important that you're saying that, because you and I have had, personal conversations off of social media about, specifically, I talk to you about like how I am trying to govern myself in my messaging and what I'm actually doing. And I feel like the way we were talking about Joe Budden and like how he got where he is and now how he's trying to backlog and backtrack and shore himself up in terms of viability. But the fact of the matter is, you got to talking and you saw people clapping and hooting and hollering, and you just kept doing what got that response. Mm-hmm. Without actually taking time to analyze, okay, well, but what is this actually doing? What is the actual impact of this besides quote unquote success? Mm-hmm. And then I find myself sitting and going back, and I always come back to y'all with excuses. I feel like it's excuses because I'm like, yeah, I've been watching this and analyzing. I'm doing the same thing. I'm paying attention to what gets what kind of response, but I want to be very intentional about the impact I'm having on people, and then also the responses I'm getting. Because I don't want to be arguing with nobody. And I don't want to be, like hurting anybody. I don't want to be harming anybody. With at least not without, because some stuff you can't please everyone. But I want to be able to know that it fits within my original vision of what it is that I believe I'm going to say. Because I would be so bold as to say a lot of the people that we may be talking about under this umbrella of these subjects we're talking about and these behaviors we're talking about, they started out idealistically. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you said, Joe Budden's podcast was, and now that I think about it, it was supposed to be about music. Mm-hmm. But somewhere along the way, because he saw a easier, quicker path to success, he just made that pivot and just went on down that path. And now he is where he is. And I feel like a lot of people get trapped in golden cages because it's like, okay, I can't give up this quote unquote success now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me also say this. One of my life mottos is I don't need it to be perfect. I need it to be right. I'm never going to ask anybody to try to perfect some type of life philosophy or daily tasks and self-discipline, so on and so forth. But at minimum, give yourself the space, the grace, the mercy, whatever it is, whatever adjective you want to use to be who it is that you know is best for you. We all got different personalities, different spiritual needs, different emotional needs, et cetera, et cetera. And so just kind of circling back a little bit, like, okay, to your point, or actually, let me say this, to the point of some of the conversations we've had offline. I know for me, as much time and effort and brow sweat and tears and so on and so forth that I put into my podcast over the years, I know when my body feels out of whack from what I've been creating and when I need to sit down somewhere and really rethink things. So while it may not be something that I'm putting to bed, I might be giving it some nap time. And that's across all of my creative projects, because again, like you said, putting yourself in a golden cage because you're trying to do what works instead of what actually makes sense and is best for you long term, So I'll close with this. We must keep our eyes on those that are creating unsafe spaces, but we don't necessarily have to always contribute to them, which is why I'm glad that you chose to play Lovely T's version and Nosy's version of everything versus going directly to Joe or one of those other guys' platform, because we'll be able to see the information without necessarily supporting the information and still giving ourselves the space to critique things and say, hey, warning, this is a part of the outdoor environment. You need to be considerate and keep a watchful eye without necessarily having to directly engage. So I appreciate you doing that, and I'm actually going to take note of that.
I actually thank you for highlighting that and speaking about it in that way, because I felt like I was not being lazy, because I was trying to do my journalistic integrity and find, the original clips or something like that. But I was just like, you know what? This needs to be good enough. And like T had it formatted in a way that I knew it wasn't going to get flagged or anything. But yes, you're absolutely right. And that does align with, what I've been talking about on here, just as a theme of being mindful and intentional and willing to do that work of not just mindlessly consuming, being intentional about how we are consuming this stuff, even if we want to indulge, but making sure we're doing so in a way like we do need to start divesting as much as we can from feeding this monster, from, giving that energy resource and that energy currency, that attention currency to these people if we don't like it, if we truly do not like it.
That part.
Highlighting that. But I'm going to let you go. I know you've been trying to leave forever and ever. I was going to keep you locked up, girl.
No, I got to get back to a friend. She's dealing with some disability symptoms, so I just want to check in with her.
I'm so sorry. Well, just go ahead, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. I hope your friend is okay, and I hope I see you again soon.
Yes, hopefully. I'll be good. I'll be jumping off the internet for long periods of time these days, but yes, I will do my best to come back.
All right, girl. I will talk to you.
All right. Chat later, y'all.
Right. Yeah, people. So I'm gonna go ahead. I do have one last clip I want to show, and this is on the subject again, or going deeper into this idea of why Mark is there, and also one of my issues with Mark. It's not an issue. Okay, let me be clear. Like I said, Mark and some other people that some of y'all already know, but I'm making a concerted effort not to be saying people's names on here, just because I don't want it to be misconstrued to like I am obsessed with these people, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't how do I explain this? I don't believe in making a point of like making it part of your platform or your messaging to drag specific people. Like when you have those platforms that they spend time like repeatedly dragging people, it just so happens that what we're talking about falls in line with this stuff. And so, I want to talk about it in that way, but that's why I'm refraining from using specific names, because I wouldn't want to be misconstrued that I'm invested in that person or those people, if that makes sense. But what I'm going to say is, when it comes to like Marc Lamont Hill and those of his ilk that do the same, thank you, but again, that's me being mindful and intentional and doing my due diligence. They have that same kind of thing of like, oh, I'm trying to help the brothers. You know what I mean? I'm trying to help the men and the black men, and they get a bad rap, and I'm just trying to be there to be a mentor and a resource and this and that and the other. Again, every demographic deserves to have spaces where they're centered and platforms where they're centered and everything like that. So I'm not against, black men specifically or any other group having their own spaces where they and their issues are centered. But again, like I said, there's this fuzzy line between centering black men specifically and the community, because the idea is, oh, well, by centering these black men in these particular ways, like abolition. You know what I mean? Like giving them the benefit of the doubt when they're acting out and being disruptive and violent and those types of things, and focusing in on trying to remind them who they are and all these, very, very woo-woo type stuff when we're dealing with terrorists to us. Thank you, Gab. That bothers me. And also the either dry minimizing of the effect it has on the women around and children around them, or the outright, passive aggressive aggression towards the idea of being mindful of and protecting the women around. Like, those are the issues that I have with a Marc Lamont Hill. But I wanted to show this clip because it kind of articulates some of my feelings as well about why a Marc Lamont Hill would think that him being on a show like that is helping, because he said it before, like, oh yeah, he said it himself. He thinks that it helps him being there because people are exposed to more intellectual perspectives and this and that and the other, and why it's such an important thing to him. And like I said, other men like him.
But I have no remorse for him, and he would catch a case being on Joe's show. Choices were made, because anyone who understands being an intelligent person that shares space with dumbass people, there will come a time when you will be positioned to case. Now, my hope is that the coins are enough, or the difference between Mark and Mona on Joe's show is that Mona is super smart, and Mona knows how to pivot from niggas, and she knows how much of a interaction she's going to give somebody who's a fucking fool before she divests. Mark is used to trying to find common sense in senseless ass niggas, because Mark believes that he can turn all these niggas into him. Too far gone, babe. You can't be slow for 45 years and then you want to speed up. That's not going to happen, Suge. No, you're going to have to either be comfortable with what you bring to the table and add that to the conversation, or you're going to have to divest. Because what you don't want to have happen is people's perspective on you, people's idea of how you're able to handle 10 situations to get imprinted by this moment and this show. It's not worth it. Unless the coins, now I know the coins are cute. I know it's a coinsy set, but I also know Joe Budden is a stingy ass nigga. But I know it's a cute set. And these are those moments where people be like, I just show up, I'm sitting here, we just having conversations, when you still have to be thoughtful about where you put your body, your energy, your face, and your brand, because it can be a simple coin to be made that turns into a ridiculous consequence. Because you making an easy coin, doing simple work with a lot of simple niggas, boo. You're facilitating. You have to be exhausted. Marc Lamont, in a year, the way that President Obama looked at the end of his presidency, when he went from dark hair to his whole head of hair looking like this napkin, that's how Mark gonna look in 6 months. So that's my opinion on that. Y'all done tagged me in them videos. My opinion is you either let them be dumb and you be you, or get up and go. Cause you can't. This ain't motherfucking Criminal Minds. This ain't motherfucking goddamn me. What's that movie with Hilary Swank? When she's in there reading to the children and they start liking books and shit. It's not that. You're not Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. to come in there and be a adjunct professor with niggas who stopped going to school at kindergarten. That's crazy business.
So yeah. I mean, and on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up because what else is there to say? He's going up there thinking a lot of these dudes, they see themselves in these other men, and this is going from just, mild ignorance to frothy violence. You know what I mean? And they're thinking, oh, I could save him. I could save him. I could save him. And my frustration, like I said, with the disregard to the effect on the women and stuff, because it is the women who have taken on the task of being patient, have taken on the task of saying, oh, these are my men, quote unquote. I'm going to stick beside them. And they get knocked up their head. When the women finally say, hey, this is a little bit too much for me, and start speaking on the situation as it is, then it becomes, oh, well, you should have known better. And why would you even give that type of a man a chance? So again, is it Uchiwali or is it one Mike? Because it is the men, and it's a specific man I'm thinking about that's not Marc Lamont Hill, that has that kind of sassy, passive aggressive energy. That red pill, oh, well, it's who you choose. You chose that guy. You didn't choose the nice guy energy about when situations go awry, but they're at the front line saying, oh, well, even the violent ones shouldn't be put in jail. So I have little to no patience for that kind of dissonance, for many kinds of dissonance when it comes to, like I said, very capable, competent, adept, intelligent, articulate, resourceful, and industrious men within our community, but they still have that blind spot for what I think is a gross misappropriation of resources in energy and capacity on that demographic, point blank and period, while also, denigrating and scrutinizing and ultimately abandoning those of us who are also invested and investing the most and losing the most into that same end that is their vision and their mission. But yeah, so those are all my thoughts on everything. This was nice. I'm glad I went ahead and did it on a little humbug. I was moved. I was motivated. I was triggered. Last time I was like, oh no, we gonna talk about this because ew. But thank you all for coming. Alicia Renice, thank you so much. Thank you, Wake Up. Thank you everybody that's been here tonight. Gab, Summer, Mary stopped through. You still here? I saw you, Sam Ree. How you doing, girl? Kenny, as always, Simply Nikki Fitness. I'm trying to go back and make sure I get everybody. All of y'all. All right, I've been scrolling a long time. I'm sorry. Thank you all. Thank you for coming through and kicking it with me. I don't know. I'm not going to give you no thing of like who's going to be there. But again, I have my community tab or whatever. So please, if you want me to watch things and do commentary on those things, you could put it there. You guys could get under in the comments if somebody puts something on that community and say whether or not you want to do it either. You want to, you agree with that or not. Let's utilize this so we can get this going, hopefully, and maybe give people, another alternative to all of these places, because we in trouble, girl. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead and play this outro, and I will see you guys on the flip side. I love you all, appreciate you all every day, every way, and I will talk to you later.